Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel and to a new video this week. If you're new, hi, my name is Holly and I'm a wildlife photographer here in the UK, and this is a new kind of video for my channel actually, and it's a new series that I'm going to start doing every few weeks I think, and what it's going to be called is Behind the Shot, and basically every week I am going to take a look at one of my previous photographs, and we're going to take a kind of a deep dive into when it was taken, how, the composition, the equipment, all things like that, what I like and dislike about it, and hopefully you guys will find it interesting and useful in your own photography, and also it will give me a chance to kind of look over my previous shots and have a look at them. For this first week, I've chosen the photograph. However, going forward, I'm thinking that we can kind of vote on, well, I'll let you guys vote on which photograph we do each time. I'm thinking that this will be a shorter video to the normal ones on my channel, and it's kind of an additional one to my longer vlogs. So this one will be going out on Wednesdays every few weeks, I think, maybe twice a month. That's what I've got planned for this month anyway, and we'll see how popular or unpopular they are and whether they'll continue into the future. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this new channel. No, it's not a new channel, this new video format. Hopefully it is really useful and kind of exciting at the same time. But yeah, let's get started. So my plan is that I am obviously in the forest. I did plan to kind of have the photograph up on my computer and record this, but that got very boring because my back wall is really uninteresting and the computer was kind of losing the will to live anyway. So I figured I would bring myself into the forest, and we'll either have a paper copy or a printout of one of my pictures, or I will just have a look on my phone, which I did have on me here, and I'll have a look at the picture and display it on the screen for you guys to see. So this first week is actually there is one main picture, but there's a couple that also work in the same thing that we're also going to discuss, and so if you've seen the title you'll know which picture I'm talking about already, but it is essentially this one here of a buff-tip moth. I'll put up a better one on the screen for you guys to look at, but that's the one that we're going to have a look at today. So first up, let's get into the actual subject of our picture, or photograph even, and this is a buff-tip moth. It is my favourite type of moth here in the UK, and it's kind of the moth that got me into more moths, which is quite funny. And so this moth is one that I saw on Instagram, and essentially it's got really amazing camouflage, and as you can see from the photographs, there's a set of 3 that I'll show you today. You can see that it's camouflage kind of in action. It looks like a piece of silver birch, which is, I just think, really, really cool. There's only kind of one moth that I think would outdo this moth in the UK moth species, and that is the one from Silence of the Lambs. The dead-head hawk moth, I think it's called, and unfortunately I haven't seen one of those yet, so until then the buff-tip moth will remain my favourite moth. But when the process of taking this picture was kind of complete chance, in that I really wanted to see one of these moths after I'd seen it on Instagram on somebody else's, and then one day I opened our French doors, which have really white panelling, to let our Labrador outside, and I looked down and I was like, we don't have any silver birch in our garden. Where has that twig come from? And I kind of nudged it, and then I was like, oh my god, that's not a twig, that is a buff-tip moth, and I got really excited. And then I think it was really funny because it's camouflage. It was not using its camouflage at all. It was on the white panelling of our door. There was absolutely no way that it was going to hide from anything there, although I did think it was a stick to start with, so I guess it had that going for it. But in terms of using its camouflage in a adequate environment, it was not doing that. But after I spent about 10 minutes yelling about how this moth was really cool and showing everyone else in our household the moth, I then got my camera out and I moved it onto a stick, as you can see from the picture. Firstly because the white panelling was not good photography background, and secondly because I was slightly concerned that my Labrador would stand on it when he came back through the door. So I moved it onto a stick, and then I kind of held it in front of my camera, and I'll show you the lens that I used, and it is the main lens. It is the macro 100mm on my Canon camera, so you can see that on the screen now. And that's the one that I used for this shot. And essentially I just held it up to the camera and took several different angles of the moth, and so I can look at the other ones on my phone because I sent them to myself. And so there's kind of 3 in this series. There's my favourite one, which is the one that I have of a print off here, that you can see on screen, and then there's one that shows off its camouflage and how close it looks to a birch tree like twig, and you can see that its head kind of resembles the snapped off bit of a twig, which I just find amazing. And then there's a really close-up macro shot of its face where it kind of looks really cute and fluffy, and I quite like that one as well. But yeah, that is kind of the background of the shot. And in terms of composition, I obviously hit all 3 different angles in this, and I really like the framing on let's go with the main photograph for starters, where you can see the moth kind of central on the twig, and I kind of like how it's framed kind of in the middle, even though that's not rule of thirds or whatever. I like it, and how the background is all blurred out. In terms of the other 2 photographs, the head one, like the headshot one, I'm not as keen on. I can't decide if it's because the moth is just like staring at me or if it's the composition, as its legs were kind of either side of the twig and it doesn't kind of balance out. You can see one of its legs is kind of on the top of the twig that it's on, and then the other one it doesn't seem to have one. So yeah, that, and the twig kind of, actually I think it's one of its legs is also on the front, and that kind of detracts from its head kind of, and you're not entirely sure what piece is like the bark that it's sitting on and what's its actual body. So I'm not too keen on that one, and even though I like the first one for being central, I'm not too keen on this one for being central. And then the final shot is the body shot, and I think that's really cool. What would have been cooler if I'd had a piece of silver birch to compare it to and to kind of put it next to. However, we don't have any silver birch in the garden, so that was not a possibility. But in terms of the composition of that one, I quite like that you get enough of the background and of the twig that it's sitting on that you can see its full body and its head that looks like a snapped off piece of twig. So yeah. So on to kind of what I would do better next time critiquing my own photographs, is that firstly all of these pictures I was really ecstatic with, because I'd never seen a buff-tip moth before, and the excitement of it kind of got the better of me in terms of actually focusing on taking photographs. But I don't see that as a negative, because I don't take photographs because I'm interested in photography. I'm interested in seeing the wildlife, and so seeing the moth itself was cool enough for me, and the photographs were just a bonus. But one thing I would say about this main picture is that there could have been a different shot that's similar to this one, but the other way around, if that makes sense. So that instead of this twig that it's sitting on being in focus and seeing quite a lot of that taking up the frame, the actual moth and its body could have been in focus, if that makes sense. So if I had taken the twig and twisted it around so that you could see the moth, the whole body and its face, instead of kind of the twig, but I'm not sure if that would have worked or not. But yeah, that is kind of the story behind this photograph. Let me know what you think of it, or all 3 of them, which one is your favourite, 1, 2 or 3, in the comments, and let me know what you thought of this video and if you find it useful, and if there's anything else you'd like me to discuss about this photograph, or next time for the next photograph, let me know in the comments and we can do that. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this new video, and hopefully in the future there'll be more of these and they'll be useful to someone somewhere. In terms of the actual photograph, because as you can see I'm holding a print of it now, you can purchase this print if you would like in my shop. The link is below. It comes in a low, it's an A6 size. I've also got a couple of postcards of it, so if you order a A6 copy you can get a smaller A5 copy as well as a free postcard. But yeah, I really like this shop. And I will see you all next week for, or not next week, I'll see you all at the end of the week for the longer vlog, and in a few weeks time we will do another behind the shot video as well. So yeah, see you soon.